Hey guys, welcome back. It's been a while, unless you've been watching the playlist, and then thank you for coming back. I'm sorry that the videos don't come out on a regular basis, but they'll be out eventually. That I can promise you. Today, I want to teach you how to change the strings. I get a lot of guitars that come in with various different types of knots and styles of attaching the strings that are just not done well. And this one today was, as you can see, it's been a while since I've seen something this far off of the train. And for me, I'm looking at this, and basically everything that has been done to this point is done wrong. As you can see here, you've got the string that goes over the saddle, so we're A-OK here. But then it comes over the top of the bridge, ties through here into a half hitch. And as you can tell, these strings are crusty. It's been like this for, oh goodness, 30 years, I believe. Also, on the other side of things, you have all these extra windings which are jammed into the head. You don't need all this extra winding material on the head. So, when you have this on your head like this, that actually will cause problems. It jams the string into here. It was actually one of the reasons why this head cracked previously, which has been fixed. While I generally have some pretty nice guitars, I also work on the regular. Just what we need for this is I like to use a neck block. It makes things easy. Some sort of a method of unwinding, or if you want, you can do it by hand, which takes forever, but you know, some of us, we've got that luxury of time. The last thing we need is a little bit of oil. This is something that a friend of mine made. It's pretty special, but regular 3-in-1, one drop every 6 months ought to do it. No need to go crazy. It'll really extend the life of your machines. You know, something from, I don't know, lasting 20 to 50 years to multiple generations. So it's a good idea to do it. This is your typical 6-hole bridge. I'll teach you how to tie it, but also we're going to do the slightly more complicated and actually, for me, more problematic 12-hole. And let me grab an example of that. Give me 1 second. Just, Alright, so this is a 12-hole. As you can see, there are 12 holes on the bridge. Now, typically, you see a lot of makers using this to get more downforce, although I don't... Well, internet, have fun. I think that this is ridiculous. I'm not a big fan of 12 holes. I think that they cause more problems than they solve, and you have to learn how to tie a new system. So, internet, have fun. So, I'll show you how to change these as well. First things first, the standard 6-hole. I need to take the old strings off, and I always take that as an opportunity to add oil. And I don't go crazy with the oil. I just like to put 1 drop at the corner of the gear and the worm, 1 drop up at the top, and 1 drop at the bottom. And that's for any and all tuning machines. And I'm going to just take the opportunity to do all 6 while I'm at it, and then wipe off the excess oil at the end. With the oil applied, as you turn down the string to reduce tension, it will spread everything over the entire ring and worm at the same time. You can also use a string crank. This one is very well worn. My father's been using this one for almost 50 years. Next, I don't like to save strings. If you want to, go ahead. I like to use some clippers and hold the dead ends. You don't want these snapping back. Now, mind you, my stringing of a guitar it's a style that I've fallen into because I understand that when you are in a performance, the speed of being able to change your strings is the difference between a great performance or not. When I teched for some fairly famous people, I had been called on to do a few things for their guitars in the middle of a concert, and you can feel everything going on. As you can see with this double half-hitch system, I'm having a bit of a time to get this undone. I'm not messing about trying to dramatize it. It's legitimately not coming off easily, and these things are not going to slip. Be very careful not to clip into the bridge, but you don't always have these sorts of things around. Can you imagine being in a performance trying to undo this or tie it back? Next up is the head. And like I said, these, when you have too much string on your headstock, it's going to jam into the head. It causes excess wear and binding, not only on the wood, but on the tuning machines itself. So it causes extra wear. I am highly pragmatic about the amount of material that goes on, which is as little as possible. One of the things that I do like to do at this point, and this is just something I like to do at my shop, is I like to clean up the fingerboards. It's something that'll help them last a little bit longer. It's nicer for the player. So, in 1 second, let me just do that, and I'll have another video on that later. Alright, so I'm back. As you can see, the fingerboard is now, let's call it shiny. This will help reduce wear on the strings. It'll give you a little bit more time in between changing out the strings. This one is going to be getting a set of the Hanebach super low tensions because that is what they requested. I really like these strings. I've been using them essentially my entire life. This is just me when I'm putting on strings. There is no necessity to go one outside, next, and build it on the way in. It's not going to pull your guitar neck sideways. It's not going to do anything weird. It's basically what's going to happen is if your nut isn't glued in, which it shouldn't be, it'll pull it to the side, which you can just shove it back into place. So, first things first, with the first string. Now, I like a very simple system that requires no burning. I don't like fire near my guitars, and also, from a chemical standpoint, it's actually not good to burn your ends because it gives you a sense of false security. Okay? The heat line will actually cause a crystalline fracture of the plastic just beyond where you're burning it. So it's actually, it may hold it, it may not, but ultimately I don't like fire by guitars. You know, quote Frankenstein, fire bad. My camera from on high will catch this. I like to go through from the front. Okay, it seems like you could go in from this way and pull the string all the way through, but I'm not a big fan of that. And for the first string and the treble strings, doesn't matter, but I'll show you why for the bass strings. You're going to come through here and give yourself a bit of room. I like to do one loop and pinch it, and then come around 1, 2, 3 times for the first string, and only the first string. The others I do too. And then I pull it back, pinch the last loop over the backside of the bridge so that way it settles in, and then give it a snug pull. I come up to the head, and I like to pull the string through, leaving as little slack here as possible. And then I always like to think of which way I want the string to go. So I want this string to go in this direction, winding out towards the outside of the head. And so I will take the string and go 1, 2 times around, so I am left with this little pigtail. Now, just for this, I like to come around until the string pinches over. And this way, I know that the string is locked into place. It's not going to move. There's no need to double thread your strings through your holes, and in fact, you should never do it. Again, it takes a long time to take the string off. Second of all, it takes a long time to put the string back on. And third of all, it's really, really difficult when they shift and tighten and grab against each other. So please, don't double thread your holes. So now, we're going to go to the 6th string. I've seen a lot of people go in from this side and try to shove the string through, use something to pry it up. I've seen, nail files and forks and car keys and all the stuff that shouldn't be by a guitar. I like to go from the front side, and the other reason is, if you listen very carefully, and I'll be quiet, Anytime that you hear that, that's actually the sound of a saw blade going through the bridge. So if you run that whole string through, little by little, you're actually going to accelerate the wear on your bridge. So please, don't do that. So for the 6th string, I like to run a little bit through, take one loop, and just tuck it under on the back side and snug it up. So this way, you can see the last loop is on the back side of the bridge. I'm going to run it all the way up to the headstock, pull through, and again, I'm not going crazy, and this one I want to wind outward, and I'll give it a turn until it just tucks over. And again, this is not going to fall off. Now the last thing, and this will preserve your string life far longer than almost anything else. Take your fingers and pinch. You're going to pinch this way along that loop, and then you're going to push the loop as far backwards. So that way, as the string relaxes, you don't have a sudden jump as that loop settles in. So I'm going to bring it up to pitch, roughly. And then I'll get the rest of the strings on. So you notice I have this extra little loop right here. We are not going to thread it through. We are not weaving things. When you want to change one string, that will make things immensely difficult. So, all right, last string, finally. And now the 4th string is actually the most fragile string because of all the winding wires. And I forgot to mention this. There's 2 ends of the bass string. There's the floppy end, and then there's the not floppy end. This is not a soft end for protecting your bridge. Okay? This is garbage, and you should never go down by the bridge. It is the weakest part of the string, and most of the guitars that I see where people are bringing them in saying, my saddle's cutting my strings. No, it's because you're using the floppy end down at the bridge. So don't do it. That's through the manufacturing process, that's how they start and end the machine, because these are made in double lengths. So, that said, throw them away, don't use the floppy end. So, now that these strings have been changed, the biggest question of them all, how do I stretch them out? Because this is going to take 2 weeks for them to stop stretching. You can do it in an hour, maybe less, but please, whatever you do not take your strings and start stretching them. That is what kills strings probably the fastest, because as soon as you do that, you're creating a localized hotspot in terms of tension, especially if you hold it down and stretch out. And I'm not going to do it because it causes a falseness, aka a uneven distribution of mass across the length of your string. And these things are, believe it or not, are highly engineered, so that way it does not happen. The easiest and fastest way to stretch out a guitar string is over lunch. And the way I do it is I get my guitar tuned up, and then I bring it all up a half step. And I promise you, it's not going to pull the bridge off, okay? It's okay. Go ahead and do it. And that's it. That's all you have to do. That will stretch out your guitar far faster than any other method. And that is how you change strings on a guitar. Now, this is personal preference. I like to clip the string ends, but I actually need to make a new saddle for this guitar. That will be in a different video. In another video, I'm going to show you how to do a 12-hole bridge, because those, like I said, are far more problematic, and I've got something to say about that. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. I do read all the messages. I don't necessarily get to respond to all of them, but I do read them. If you want to help support, I've got a Patreon link. Use promo code YouTube, because I've said it enough, on my website for $500 off of a new guitar commission from me. And that comes off of your final price at the end as well. So, until next time, see ya.